A charming and intelligent girl named Amanda is not just a beautiful woman, but also a person with high hopes for her personal life. However, she is catastrophically unlucky with men. At the very beginning of the story, Amanda catches her lover in bed with another, very vulgar lady. This event becomes a shock for her and the cause of deep disappointment. She feels betrayed and deceived, because she invested a lot of energy and emotions in this relationship. To regain her strength and start a new chapter in her life, Amanda decides to leave the apartment where they live together and move to a new place. From this point on, her journey to finding a new place to live begins. Amanda finds a tiny room in a posh apartment rented by 4 tall but not very savvy supermodels. This creates an amusing contrast between Amanda and her new neighbors, who lead a very frivolous lifestyle. Despite their unconventional characters, Amanda observes their everyday life with interest and becomes a part of this unusual world. However, it is in these apartments that she is destined to meet her neighbor Jim, who turns out to be a real Mr. Perfect. Jim is a well-dressed, charming and tactful young man. He immediately attracts Amanda's attention, and she can't help but notice his attractiveness and confidence. Their first meeting is filled with sparks, and it is immediately apparent that electricity runs between them. Amanda falls in love with him at first sight, and it would seem that this is exactly the man she has been looking for. However, as is often the case in comedies, the surprises don't last long. One evening, looking out the window, Amanda observes a shocking scene of Jim massacring an unfamiliar young lady with a baseball bat. This moment becomes a turning point in her perception of Jim. She can't believe her eyes and begins to question his true nature. Is her perfect roommate really not who he says he is? Filled with fear and suspicion, Amanda decides to do her own investigation. She starts following Jim, trying to find out what is really going on. This decision leads to many funny situations and comical misunderstandings. She tries to gather information about Jim, doing so in the most unexpected places and with the funniest characters. Her attempts to talk to Jim's neighbors and friends turn out to be only additional failures, as those around her do not take her seriously. Alongside her investigation, Amanda begins to develop feelings for Jim. Despite her suspicions, she realizes that he manages to evoke positive emotions in her. Jim shows interest in her and sympathy begins to develop between them. This creates an internal conflict for Amanda, who doesn't know what the right thing to do is. She tries to cope with the situation, but cannot get rid of the idea that Jim may be a dangerous man. Funny moments and comical situations are replaced by more serious reflections on what it means to really know a person. In one episode, she decides to ask her supermodel neighbors for help, but they turn out to be too busy with their own affairs to pay attention to her problems. This moment shows how Amanda begins to realize that relying on the opinions of others is not always wise, and that it is important to listen to your own feelings. As the plot progresses, Amanda is faced with a number of situations that push her to make a decision. One day she decides to stop by Jim's house under the pretext of a friendly visit, and it becomes an important moment for both of them. Jim shows care and kindness, and this encounter allows Amanda to see him from a different perspective. She realizes that his behavior could be misinterpreted, and she begins to wonder if it is possible to trust this man. The climax of the movie comes when Amanda decides to ask Jim directly about what she saw. She explains her concerns and suspicions, and Jim, in turn, reveals his version of events. This becomes a pivotal moment when the tension between them reaches a breaking point. He reveals what really happened that night, and his explanation helps Amanda see the situation in a different light. Amanda realizes that she needs to let go of her fears and open her heart to Jim. At the same time, there is an unexpected twist when a third character who is also involved in this tangled story comes into play. This twist adds drama and intrigue, emphasizing the importance of trust and understanding in a relationship. In the final scene of the film, Jim and Amanda realize that despite their differences and misunderstandings, they can still create a strong and trusting relationship. They decide to start over, and this becomes a symbol of their willingness to work on themselves and their bond. They both realize that despite their flaws, they can support each other and grow together. The movie ends on a positive note as Jim and Amanda smile at each other, ready for new adventures together. They realize that true love takes work and understanding, and that it is important to believe in people rather than judging them by their looks or faulty assumptions. This movie leaves viewers with a sense of hope and joy, showing how easy it is to jump to conclusions about a person without knowing the whole truth, and how important it is to give love a chance even when things seem to be going wrong.